As soon as Camille informed me that her mother had invited us to Thanksgiving dinner, I should have followed my instincts. Not because I don't appreciate a good meal, not because I don't love my wife's family, but because of them. Because Melinda. Royce had never invited me to her home in our 6 years of marriage. Not for birthdays, not when Camille's father threw his back out. She didn't even call, not even to help move a couch. And now? Abruptly, she wanted us all together. We were sitting in the kitchen when Camille said, "What kind of wine do you like?" Her voice had a hopeful edge. "Maybe she's finally trying, babe." I nodded slowly, careful not to pierce that fragile gleam in Camille's eyes. She was holding on to hope, and I could have said a lot right then. How Melinda used to refer to me as that accountant, how she once sent Camille a list of fertility tests, how she looked at me like I wasn't breathing when she saw my baby face at a family cookout. She even gave Camille a list of clinics, with backup plans in case her real man couldn't conceive. But I held my mouth. Camille wanted peace, and secretly, I wanted it too. So I just said, "Let's do it." As we pulled up to the Royce estate that Thursday morning, the November chill wrapped around me like a warning. The white columns, tall hedges, and that Camille made felt small in the shadow of the estate. The house stood like a monument to old money and older grudges. An American flag flapped overhead like it was protecting something sacred. Melinda's idea of patriotism, maybe. Perhaps it'll be lovely to spend Thanksgiving in a house that looks like George Washington might have sneezed in it, Camille said, her voice trembling slightly. Inside, her brother Mason greeted us, or rather, barely acknowledged us. He mumbled, "Hey!" without looking up from his phone. Then came Trinity, cream cashmere, glowing skin, and twin newborns strapped to her chest like prizes. Family swarmed around her with coos and praise. And then, Melinda. She descended the staircase like a queen at her coronation, hair twisted in pearls, earrings sparkling. "Well, look who finally made it," she said, kissing Camille on the cheek, her smile never quite reaching her eyes. When she looked at me, it was with the same warmth you reserve for someone scuffing your freshly polished floor. "Happy Thanksgiving, Melinda," I said. She leaned down, dropped her voice just enough to still be heard, and added, "No gifts," raising her eyebrow like a gavel. Trinity smirked. Camille held her famous sweet potato pie, the one everyone raved about. Melinda barely glanced at it. "And you?" she asked me, eyes gleaming. I held up the wine bag. Before I could say a word, Camille squeezed my hand and whispered, "I'm sorry. Don't believe me when I say I'm used to it, because I wasn't." Dinner was called. The dining room was stunning, gleaming crystal, polished oak, a table that stretched nearly the whole room. Melinda orchestrated the seating like a conductor arranging a symphony. Mason here, Trinity beside me, Harold at the head, and you, my dear Camille, next to your husband. I followed her direction, but when I reached my seat, I stopped. It was bright pink, a plastic plate, cartoon unicorns, smiling suns and stars, a spoon and fork from a toddler's birthday party. Everyone else sat before elegant white porcelain. Camille's face drained of color. I asked quietly, but clearly, why? Melinda didn't blink. "I figured you might as well," she said, sipping her wine, "since you're impotent and can't give my daughter children." The room went silent. I could hear Mason's fork tapping his glass. Camille's mouth dropped, open in horror. Trinity gasped. One of the babies let out a soft whine like they could feel the poison in the air. My vision blurred, just a little. My chest burned. I wanted to scream, to flip the table, but instead, I reached into my coat pocket. Pulled out the white envelope, the one Camille told me to keep hidden, the one I'd been holding for weeks. I turned to Melinda. "I have something for you," I said, voice steady. Her smile twitched. "What are you doing?" Camille whispered. "Please." I turned to her and said softly, "I'm sorry, love, but this ends today." I placed the envelope next to the pink plate, next to the unicorns and smiling suns. If they wanted a circus, I'd give them a final act they'd never forget. He's defending this overreaction by saying that I drove him over with a bus. But it's a plastic plate, Melinda. After 3 years of suffering and bewilderment, you're acting as though I'm invisible. So I'm now raising my voice a little, unlike everything that has been directed at me, even the passive-aggressive remarks and whispered accusations. "You're being dramatic," she replied again, implying that the male infertility leaflets were merely light-hearted taunting. Camille stood. She wasn't a loud person, yet it caught everyone's attention. Camille, the peacemaker. She was kind, but this time, her voice was clear and sharp. "You all just stopped," she said, "and everyone became motionless." She glanced around the table, angry. "This family has accused, ridiculed, and disregarded my husband for years, for something we never discussed, because it was private and hurtful. And now, you've brought it up again, out in public, as if it were a party trick." Melinda blinked, obviously taken by surprise. Camille turned. "I urged you to let it go. I told you not to bring the documents. But now that I see it, I see why. You had to," she said, gesturing toward the plate. I hadn't moved yet. Camille gave me a gentle nod. It was the authorization I had been waiting for. I stepped up and took the envelope. I wanted to clarify something with my hand, so I started, speaking to the entire table. "I've been trying to conceive for 3 years. In that time, I've silently blamed others, particularly one. Someone implied that I wasn't man enough, that I was the reason Camille isn't a parent yet." Melinda raised her glass once, more without taking a sip, showing respect by keeping her mouth shut. I opened the package, slowly and with mutual respect. And I took out the one page that included the fertility clinic findings. They are not mine. I let the words sink in. Camille was diagnosed with early ovarian failure. Her egg count came back, normal. But I've known that she is aware her supply is gone, and that spontaneous conception is not possible. We've tried hormone therapies, talked to donors, considered IVF. Trinity had quit chewing. Felix looked like he wanted to slither beneath the table. Mason was at last quiet, and Camille cautiously took her seat again. I added softer now, because her hand was shaking in her lap, but I didn't say anything. It wasn't anyone's concern. But if my masculinity is going to be ridiculed at a dinner table using pink, plastic, then let's put it on the table.